Welcome back to Madam Cross New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where I realised that today and yesterday were both a weekend, which is normally when we do Happy Home Paradise customizations, but I didn't do one yesterday, and I probably won't do one today, you know. I mean, we're still in sort of the afterglow of the holidays, and, you know, Happy Home Paradise kind of just like, it takes like more concentration than just sort of running around aimlessly on Animal Crossing Island talking about absolute nonsense. So, perhaps the Happy Home Paradise will return maybe next week. See, the thing is about next week, it might be a little bit weird. There might be some episodes on some days where I just don't record an episode, and I'll get into that for a second in a bit. So hello there everyone, right now in Fawnhollow, it's 4:56 PM on Sunday, January 2nd, 2022. With a visitor staying at the campsite, find out more about them. Of course, it's Sunday, so not much happening. But yeah, essentially, I've been selected for jury duty, starting on January 4th. So I don't know from then on for about 10 days or so whether I'm going to be uploading Animal Crossing videos or possibly even other videos, because I don't think my backlog goes all the way to January 14th in some of the games. I'll do my best, but if I don't, then I don't. Then it's just going to be a sort of lull in uploads for a little bit. But don't mind that, because it's not all that interesting. There's not really much to say about it, and obviously I'm not going to delve into any further detail because I don't really know how much is all that interesting about that. But anyway, just to let you know, so you're aware if I miss out a day or so, then you're not going to be like, wow, what happened? That's why. But no, I don't really feel like doing a Happy Home Paradise, and I was thinking about what to talk about, and the thing we could talk about, I could talk about KeyWe, which is a co-op sort of Overcooked style game about delivering posts, well, in some very sort of overly convoluted way. But it's a two-player cooperative game, and I want to talk about it because me and Benedict finished the main campaign and the mini games yesterday. We haven't 100%ed the entire game, but I think it's probably at the point where I can actually talk about it now. Well, like I feel like I got a good sense of game. Like even though I haven't got down to the 100%ing everything yet, we've gotten a reasonable amount of 100 gold medals, and we're just going through trying to get gold medals on all the levels if we possibly can. But I feel like the more pure way to talk about it is to talk about like the generic experience of the game, which is just sort of take it at face value and just do your best to pass the level and move on. Overall, KeyWe, a fantastically fun co-op game. I would say my only criticism of it, like, it's quite a short criticism, it's a bit short, if anything. Like, not that like it was like a bad value for money. I think it was good value for money, but this is like I suppose we've been spoiled by all these sort of co-op games of so much longer experiences, like It Takes Two, Portal. Even well, we were here. Well, actually, it was actually kind of short, but it was also, you know, like incredibly cheap. So it kind of felt like the game stopped, not while it was in its prime, but like it didn't come quite to a nicer conclusion than I thought, because it felt like it was really like it was on the tail end of like its sort of like climax, I suppose, of a game where it was like really on the ball, and I was like, oh man, it was like it's really starting to ramp up the difficulty and getting crazy. It didn't really feel like there was like a final level, but the final like level was a little bit underwhelming, I would say, in my personal opinion. It's not like it was disappointing in a sense, but it was more like I suppose I have high expectations of a game because I like it so much. I'm a lot more critical of it, but I'm just like, why could I even criticize it? Those are the other bits. But on the whole, it's actually a supremely fun game. Apparently we have nothing in our inventory. It's a supremely fun game. So to explain to you, it's a two-player co-op game where you both control KeyWe birds in, well, it looks like it takes place in Australia, which I don't know if Kiwis actually live in Australia. I thought they only live in New Zealand, but I'm not actually particularly sure. In some sort of ambiguous Australia area. Where you're delivering posts, you're basically working like the post office telegram station. Is a lot of jobs sort of combined together in one. Mechanically, it's basically you're performing these sort of like delivery, like Overcooked style, like, you know, those like Diner Dash sort of games where you had to perform certain tasks to deliver to recipients, etc. You're basically doing that, except for with a post office painting or aesthetic over the top of it, and it's pretty fun. It's very chaotic and that sort of thing, and very interestingly, it's actually quite a smart way, I think, of like when money will diminish, we'll of course try and change that. It's quite a smart way to get a lot out of little. But basically what you have is 4 base games, where basically one of them is, okay, let me think, one of them is delivering letters and packages to people, one of them is typing out like typing out messages. Another one is making sort of like sending like physical mail and also constructing the mail. So like converting, I suppose, spoken messages to written form. And the other one would be, what's the other one? I should remember what the other one is, but I actually can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, is delivering delivering packages. You know, like being a delivery warehouse, I suppose, service. So you have those 4 basic games, and they all have like different mechanics, I suppose, of working together and that sort of thing. Well, you always work together, but they have 4 different like key mechanic levels, and basically what they do is they rehash these 4 levels over and over and over again, but they add different gimmicks and mechanics every single time. So the first 4 levels are all, of course, like tutorial levels for those sort of mechanics. So like in the delivery ones, you gotta like you got to read the delivery note, put the appropriate stickers on the box, and input the correct postcode and send it off to that location. The letter ones, you got to take in people's returned letters, and you got to give out letters which have been sent to people, and you got to like organise their packages as well, making sure they're going to the right depot. What's the other one? The telegram one, where you get in like telegrams you had to basically type out on this most ridiculous typewriter, 1 letter at a time. And the next one is you have to, and the final one, oh yeah, the one where you get like a audio recording which you need to send out into like physical mail form for some reason. You had to basically stitch together sort of like ransom letter style a load of different words and stuff to stick it on the page, and you know, sometimes you had to cut out words, that sort of thing, to reform the words you want to deliver your message. But those are like the 4 basic concepts, and it's very clever with how they often like sort of play around with a lot of these mechanics and really get a lot out of a little, because at the core of it, the game is only 4 levels. You know, you only play the same 4 levels over and over again, just with like different flavourings over the top. But the flavourings do change it up enough that it's not, you're never like tricked being like, oh, this is like a completely different level. Like some mechanics are like completely change up the game, but a lot of the times they sort of just like build upon mechanics, and you know, sometimes the mechanics are just there for 1 level, sometimes there will be a recurring thing throughout all the events. So yeah, the first 4 levels you play will just be tutorialization. The next 4, if I remember, they sort of like build up a little bit from each of them, introducing a new permanent mechanic. So like the one where you had to send telegrams, now you actually had to like splice up words to get like with different morphemes, I suppose, of a word, right, you particularly want delivered, etc, etc. They introduce like more mechanics, and then they start just like going wild with it, like all the crazy like mechanics they start introducing with sort of things. I'm trying to think, like one of them, like all of the messages are now like encrypted or whatever, and you had to still type them out exactly the same, but of course they've been like run through like a cryptography sort of like processor thing, so it makes it all the more difficult to try and really understand what's going on. One of them is like let me think. Sometimes they change up like exactly how you deliver things. Oh, like what like some of them like they change up a huge amount. Like they have seasonal weeks. Spoilers, I suppose, for KeyWe if you don't want to get spoiled for it. It's not particularly a lore heavy game, so it's more like, I suppose, mechanic spoilers. Because how the campaign is structured is you go through the seasons from summer, autumn to winter, with 3 weeks in each. And like 1 week in the autumn one and 1 week in the winter one are themed weeks based off like obviously actual seasonal holidays. So one of them is a Halloween week where all of the tasks you do are basically reskinned for Halloween theming. Like one which is about delivering packages, where you had to like read packages and stick on the valid stickers and that sort of thing, it's become like a roller coaster, which you basically are running for the octopus's nieces and nephews or something. And plot wise, it's a bit weird, and humor wise, it's okay. Like I'm not gonna be like it's like it knocks it out of the park or anything. Oh my god, why'd I do that? It knocks it out of the park or anything. It's just fine. So I say it's got a nice charm to it, but it's not like I'm not going to remember it for its humor, I suppose, is how I put it for times come. But it's one of those games which is just really good fun to play with a friend. So I suppose your mileage may vary depending on how good friends you are, of course, or the person you play it with. And like I can't imagine really playing it with a stranger. I suppose it'd be a good sort of like bonding moment potentially if you see how well you two synergize and that sort of thing. But it's just a really good time. Is all I can really say. It's really got strong Overcooked energy, despite the fact that it's quite different from Overcooked in that sort of sense. It's not like you're working in the food industry and you've got like a list of recipes which you've got to entail. It's like you've got a fixed amount of like things you've got to get done on each level, and kind of like a recipe where you have to put them together, but it's normally like the nonsensical mechanics rather than Overcooked being sort of like a rush, a lot of focus on a rush and sort of like maximum quantity. KeyWe's all about making your ridiculous tasks that you had to perform for each one as efficient as possible. Because there's two of you, I see how that goes. You can see how that goes. I believe you can actually play it with one person, and I assume you control both KeyWes. I don't actually know if that's how it works, because I've never actually tried it, but there was a single player option. It's got cute customizations, which you can unlock doing a thing. The only problem I mildly have with it thus far, apart from the fact it's a little bit too short, is some of the requirements for the higher things are really high. Like, there's a big jump, it feels like, between the silver and gold requirements in some of the levels. Like, bronze require, like, I suppose the way I'd say it is the spacing between the medals and rewards seems a little bit crazy. It feels unbalanced. It kind of feels like when I play my gacha games and my rhythm games, like because obviously the gacha games, they have like score-based mechanics and like strong cards. Some of the cards are stronger than others because they want you to, of course, spend money to get the strong cards. But they have a scoring system in like rhythm games, and rather being based solely off your skill, it's more based off your cards and your card strength, that sort of thing. And when you start out for like the first like 5 months or 6 months, you can only get C scores because C scores are insanely easy to get. And then suddenly you hit a breaking point where you can break through and get that B score. And as soon as you get the B score, within like the next week or the next couple of weeks, you can get A and the S scores, because the gap between, it basically goes, the gap from 0 to C, it's not that big. The gap from C to B is huge. And then the gap from B to A score is like tiny, and A to S score is also tiny. So it sort of becomes like the score gets very trivialized very quickly, is my sort of point. KeyWe has a sort of something where the bronze like baseline score is fair enough, very low. And it's meant to be that way, because it's meant to be, of course, quite approachable. It's quite silly, it's quite a fun party game with a very sort of like kid-friendly, family-friendly attitude. Of course it's going to be easy. They want it to be easy because they want kids to be able to get that sort of sense of accomplishment. You know, there's no way like if you're like an 8-year-old and 6-year-old are going to play this game, and they're going to be like anything but like incredibly inefficient. But they want to have a fun time, and you know, it'd be kind of lame if they played it and they'd be like, oh, you know, you weren't even halfway to getting the lowest like reward. So yeah, fair enough, bronze should be quite low. But then there's a huge gap to silver, which silver I think was probably our most common sort of reward. Me and Benedict, who I played with, I like to say we are pretty good and efficient at these sort of things, you know. Well, I think probably our best strength is our cooperation. We are both like very cooperative with each other, so of course it works out pretty well in that sort of sense. But I suppose it was a welcome surprise for the fact that the highest scores weren't just like a walk in the park, but it just felt like a weird gap between like bronze and silver, because I couldn't help but think it was like, surely some people who like, you know, I personally think me and Benedict are probably better than the average two people who are playing cooperative games together. Maybe just because we've got a lot of synergies together is certainly a helpful part. But it made me think, it's like there's such a big gap. I can't imagine a lot of people are going to be like, I feel like a huge amount of people are going to be like in the high tier of bronze, and it's going to be like that's such a huge gap to silver, right? I feel like silver should be lowered down. We should like fill out that gap between bronze and silver. Gold should be silver, and then there should be like a platinum or like a challenger or like a super special tier for like that gold reward. Because some of the gold rewards are actually crazy hard, because there's of course RNG inherent in the game, depending on like how things are delivered, how things are set up or whatever. I can't tell how RNG is. Well, it seems like it's basically there's a pool of tasks which you can choose from, and just some are just like way easier than others. Like for example, on the typewriter level, we had to type out like certain words and that sort of thing. Some starting words, some of the sentences are way easier to type out because they will have all the letters like congregated in 2 different areas, which is fine because you have one person in each area. And some of them are like both like there'll be like strings of like letters all congregated in one area, strings of letters all congregated in the other, which is fair. It's meant to have a sort of challenge. But when it comes to actually like setting these high records, it feels a little bit much. I don't know yet if it is actually too much or not. That's a thing, because of course we haven't gold starred, we haven't gone the gold medal and everything yet. It's just so far I'm just like, it seems a bit much. And I suppose it's also reflected a bit in the minigames, because one of the minigames is a rhythm minigame. Of course, you know, I play a lot of rhythm games, but so I'm perfectly fine. I can have full combo because, you know, the baseline for a lot of these minigames, which are often rhythm minigames in non-rhythm games, are incredibly easy for me personally. So of course, there's no worry for me. But Benedict doesn't play a lot of rhythm games, so it's, you know, it's quite difficult in that sort of regard. Okay, so we're hoping for Fauna. Summon Fauna, the dearest of all darlings. Or the darlingest of all dears. I don't know. Fauna. That's not Fauna. You are... You have a mafia hamster, one of the new ones. Marlow, I think? Yeah, there we go. Unfortunately, we don't want you. I suppose we could get you to kick out a tank, but, you know, that seems a bit mean-spirited to tank. There's only one person who's allowed to kick out a tank, that's going to be Fauna, currently. I don't know, it could be fun. Should I reset to get Marlow to move in? We have got Tank's photos, so I guess we could. I don't know, I'll have a think about it. I'm telling you right now, I probably can't be bothered to do that. At some point, though, I will get Fauna's amiibo cut so we can actually get the final villager that we particularly want. I don't know why I'm just running around not doing anything instead of actually like, doing the command mission farming. Catch snowflakes, horse mackerel, exercise, shoot a balloon. Okay. Let's catch some snowflakes, I suppose, and then we'll do the exercises. Where's I going with this? Yeah, no, the requirement for a gold medal in the rhythm game is actually 100%, which I thought was a little bit harsh. Like, it's also fair enough, but it's a big gap between, again, bronze and silver. Like, I know it doesn't really affect us much because we can get those silver rank, but it made me think, I was like, why is it such an uneven distribution? Obviously, these people probably have good reasons for it, and I'm not exactly privy to them, so I shouldn't really be judging all too much, but it made me think that the current gold tier should be like a challenger tier or something, like a special legendary tier, because it's actually like pretty harsh, a lot of requirements. I'm not gonna lie. Especially in the earlier levels. The earlier levels are like near perfection, I suppose, which is fair enough. And I'm not gonna say there's anything wrong with having like a challenge that people can like aspire for, but I think it's sort of to do with the framing of it, because like bronze, silver, and gold is sort of not got. I suppose in like gaming terms, to me, mentally in my head, gold doesn't sit as like, oh, demands absolute perfection or near perfection. It just demands pretty damn good play. So it sort of surprised me like how tough some of the golden challenges were. Oh, actually, you know, but that's like a real mild criticism. If you actually think that's a legitimate criticism I have or not, it is technically, but it's also like a 0.1% criticism. It's like it doesn't even matter in the slightest. This one I actually have is actually a legitimate criticism, I think. Is there are unlocks in game which you can get by interacting with like secrets in game, and honestly I think they're fantastic. The secrets are like, they're not crazily hidden or anything, they're just like a good mix of being like hidden enough so that they're not immediately obvious, but you still got to look for them, but also pretty obvious. They give good signifiers for when you actually found them, that you can actually easily interact with them. What I mean by that is like every time you pick them up, there's always like these blue question marks, a sound effect Q plays, so you know immediately this is Easter egg, and you will immediately start trying to seek out what you have to interact with to try and complete the invisible secret task that you need to do to unlock for customizables, because once you do the unlocks you get these customizable things for your KeyWe, so you can make your KeyWe look different, etc, which I think is fun. And yeah, I think it's actually a really good balance for me personally what the secrets are, because it's not like the levels are small, so you don't have to explore all that much. I would say maybe it'd be nice if there was an indicator in game. There might be, when I might just not be aware of it, and telling you which levels secret collectibles are in. I think that'd be nice, like if you complete the whole game, if you look at the collectibles, it would just tell you, oh, like the secret's in this level. That's just me personally, because I don't really care to spend huge amounts of time searching for secrets, so I don't mind if I know there's a secret in the level and I just got to find it, but I don't want to like, you know, load up each level and spend like 10 minutes and trying to decide if there's a secret or not. That's not exactly how I like it. And if you've seen any of like my witness playthroughs or some of my other playthroughs, you'll probably be well aware that's not really, I don't really care to search out for the secret. I just more like interacting with trying to solve the secret. But your mileage may vary when that comes to the kind of things you might like it this way. That's fair enough. That would just be my suggestion. I think that if once you complete the whole campaign, you have like a sort of mini hint system of like which levels the secrets appear in. I think that would be nice, but you know, you might disagree. I think that's fair. The thing I'm actually, this is like the biggest criticism I have of this game is the collectibles. What you do is you do like the secret task you need to do, collect collectibles, but then once you complete that task, it gives you an item. To lock in the item, you actually have to finish the entire level, which like I think is redundant. It's personally what I say. I think once you get collectible, you should just have a collectible. That should be it. Like you should be able to do it, because then But the problem becomes you play the game like it means you play like almost every level 3 different times for no apparent reason. First time you play a level is sort of just like to discover it and like to give it a go, and like your first run through perfectly fine. That's what everyone's going to do. That's like kind of a given. The second one then I suppose you have to play through to actually get the collectible, because I would say it seems there's maybe about 20 or so collectibles in the game, and we managed to get like 8 or so, I think, naturally, without any like sort of hints or guides or anything like that. So that would be, you know, it's not bad, you know. But that still means that's 12 hour levels you have to play through, like with the sole purpose of just getting the collectible. But the thing is, when you go through that sole purpose of just collecting collectible, the only thing you want to do is do the collectible, like, puzzle, right? You don't want to do anything particularly interesting, particularly else. The only other thing you have to do that is to try and get faster score, higher medals, beat your personal best. So once you get the collectible, like for me personally, I was like, okay, now I actually want to like try and set a high score on this level, but now I have to actually finish this level for no apparent reason. Not for no apparent reason, but I see why we do it, to sort of like lock it in, I suppose. But I had to now finish the level to like lock in my collectible and then do it again to get the record, because there's no way you're getting a record when also trying to do the collectible sort of quest at the same time. It's a little bit much, is probably how I'd say it. Oh, actually, like, that kind of freaked me out. I saw a shadow to my left and I thought that was like I thought something was creeping up beside me, but no, it was just like an optical illusion or something. Yeah, so that's really my only complaint. Like that, and the game, it's kind of like I wish there was more levels. Not in a way that's that I think there's too few levels. I think there's a fine number of levels. I just wish it was more because I was having a really good time with it. What I'd love to see would have been like maybe like a week or maybe even an entire season, I suppose, of just like pure challenge levels of like really really wacko crazy mechanics, I suppose, which are really challenging in for certain aspects. And I felt like we were starting to get into that with some of the later ones, because some of the later ones, spoilers, is you had to basically do things in parallel concurrently. So like you had to like type out 2 messages, and one of the later ones is you had to type out 4 messages technically concurrently, but they never actually get up to like any crazy difficulty. It's like you have to type out 4 at the same time, but really you only, it's kind of like 2 sets of 4 like 2 pairs and then another 2 pairs. Sorry, it's a pair and then another pair and then another pair, and it's like that's not really 4 at a time. It's not really that sort of chaotic, like managing, challenging thing which I want to get pushed to do. But also I think there's a fair thing to say that the challenge they put in the game, they didn't want to make anything like crazy challenging, because that if you had actually 4 concurrent messages that you had to type out, that's quite like sort of, that's probably like really too difficult for like large majority of the playbase. To be honest, not many people are going to be playing the game looking to min-max everything and pushing themselves to the limit, and not everyone's going to be super well suited to this sort of thing, which I think, you know, falls pretty well into my sort of strengths, I suppose, when it comes to games. So they put the challenges into the medals, which is fair, but I suppose it sort of circles back to the thing where I feel like it shouldn't be a gold medal, it should be like a challenger medal, and there should be like a gold medal underneath it, or something which is more attainable. But that's just sort of like a game communication thing. People are going to have a lot of different opinions about something, and I think it's fair. I think both sides are very valid in that case. It's just the one I think is not less valid necessarily, but like I'm less likely to like for the one where the gold medals should perhaps be easy, and there should be a different high level. Just even if it's just a reskin, I suppose, of a current gold medal, and it feels like it makes more sense to me as a sort of like clearer communication. By the way, not game developers, so you know, and I don't expect the KeyWe developers to be watching this video or anything. Please take everything I say with a grain of salt. Like, I don't mean this any offense. The game is fantastically fun, and it's so fun. It's so like perfectly to my taste, I suppose. It's a sort of like cooperative game. It's kind of like Overcooked, like a cooperative game about organisation, I suppose. For some reason, that just really appeals to my sensibilities. I suppose it's a little bit like much of me being like, oh, you know, I kind of wish they pushed the challenge more, and then at one point being, and then also being like, hey, the challenge was too high for this thing. It's not like, how do I put it? I don't think the gold medal challenges are necessarily too hard. I'm just like sort of surprised these are gold medal, and sort of surprised at the distribution of the ranks other gold medals, it kind of surprised me, I suppose. How much time? We've got about 5 minutes. I'm not sure if we're going to catch a horse mackerel, to be honest, so I guess we'll go deep sea diving and sell the stuff, and then we'll sort of just round off the episode here. Yeah, I mean, I basically just had a super fun time playing it. There's tons of interesting mechanics. A lot of the mechanics I'm just like, oh, this is like a clever way to do it, or maybe like, you know, of course they were going to do something like this. I can, like, trying to think, what one particularly tickled my fancy. But there's one of them where, like, you get charged. You get, like, a positive charge or a negative charge. And it's basically, like, 3 mechanics all on one level, which you might argue is a bit too much, but for me, I've really liked it. Like, one of the mechanics is, like, all the things you had to be typed like 2 at once rather than 1 at a time. There's another one where only one KeyWe can type on certain parts of the keyboard, and I was like, you know, very typical, but of course it makes perfect sense, and it adds pretty well, you know. But we've done a nice balance, I suppose, of introducing mechanics without it being too overwhelming most of the time. Because there's not many times in the game where we were like super confused in the sense that we didn't understand what we were doing. I think the only time it happened was during one of the Halloween ones. The Halloween events where you had to do deliveries for people. We didn't realise for a long time, but you had to, not for a long time, that long time. Didn't realise that you had to basically give them an extra item along with a delivery. we took a little bit of time to figure that out because it's not explicitly, it's kind of stated in the letter, except for the tutorial letter is also like, you know, very flavorful, so it doesn't explicitly spell it out. So I was like, I'm not sure if that's like actual flavour or if that's actual mechanic or not. But you know, after we found out it was an actual mechanic, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, this is why we have all these items scattered about the place. I think that was the only time we were explicitly confused. But yeah, so I mean, you might listen to my list of complaints, which, you know, amounts to basically nothing, which is true because they are basically nothing complaints. It's just complaints are kind of like things to actually stoke a lot of discussion about, because I don't think like it's harder to talk about things which are just like, oh, you know, that's just great, it was just good fun, because it's like, okay, so why was it fun? I'm not sure exactly why it's fun. I guess it was like fun to tap into sort of like a cooperative aspect of a little bit of chaos and sort of like trying to make sense and order out all the disorder. Yeah, okay, but you know, that's like really sort of like broad strokes terms, which I feel like it's difficult to specifically nail down what makes KeyWe fun. I think it's just sort of something which appeals to my sensibilities of like 2-player co-op with very specific things, you know. Sorry about that, just a little bit of a pause. Yeah, it's hard to nail down exactly to me why I think KeyWe is fun. Like, I suppose what distinctly makes it fun compared to other just like, you know, generic co-op games, which are also fun. Because it's like, it's just, I guess it's kind of fun in the same way that things like Overcooked are fun. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, I think. If it's fun in a similar way that other games are fun, that's a good thing if I find those other games fun, right? So really, basically, if you've got a good friend to play KeyWe with, play KeyWe. Or you can play it by yourself, to be honest. No shame about either. It might be a lot harder, but it's a good time, I suppose, to be had by all. I suppose I'll let you know how our gold medaling attempts go for KeyWe, and maybe my tune will change if I play some of it at later levels. I'm like, okay, some of these requirements are way too difficult or way too RNG based, which is probably the only thing I could conceivably see happening. But, you know, for now, round off this episode here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, discussion, shares are greatly appreciated. Join the Dear Darling Discord. Follow me on Twitter down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.